You try this one.
I asked, yeah.
No, 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 you now you're treated with your mouth. Now you're treated with your mouth. So it's easier to just cooperate.
With my mouth wide open.
You try this one.
I asked, yeah.
No, you try
Good morning once again. Excellencies, eminent and religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to warmly welcome you to the intercultural and interreligious dialogue that we'll be sharing today. And it is a pleasure to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be spending time with you today. And we certainly have a great and distinguished group of individuals who will be speaking throughout the remainder of the morning. And I'd like to welcome you to this conversation. Today we've come together in recognition of the vital role that dialogue plays in improving awareness and understanding of the common values shared by all of mankind. In support of a dialogue among civilizations, in November of 2022, the Muslim World League, under the leadership of His Excellency Mohammad Al-Issa, Secretary General, launched the Forum for Building Bridges between East and West. The aim of this initiative is to foster mutual understanding and peaceful coexistence among the world's diverse cultures and nations. And it seeks to contribute to this goal by mobilizing religious, social, economic, and political leaders throughout the world with the main purpose to strengthen public dialogue and call for bridging cultural and religious gaps in societies. So today we commend His Excellency Mohammad Al-Issa for his vision and his initiatives on these very fronts. We also wish to recognize the cooperation of the United Nations Multicultural Study of Faiths, of the UN Staff Recreation Council, together in this vision with the support of the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. I would now like to give the floor to His Excellency Mohammad Al-Issa, Secretary General of the Muslim World League. Excellency, you have the floor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي رئيس الجمعية العمومية بالأمم المتحدة السيد Csaba كőrösi، سعادة نائبة الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة السيدة أمينة محمد، معالي المبعوث السامي لتحالف الحضارات السيد ميغيل مراتب، سعادة المستشار الخاص لتعدد الثقافات والأديان بالأمم المتحدة السيد آرثر ويلسون، أصحاب السماحة والفضيلة والنيافة والغبطة، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، أعضاء السلك الدبلوماسي بالأمم المتحدة، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كانوا محل نقاش ومحل جدل الفلاسفة والمفكرين والمصلحين وعلماء الاجتماع ورواد السياسة والإعلام هي الحضارة الإسلامية والحضارة الغربية. كما ندرك أن لكل حضارة هويتها الخاصة بها والتي لا بد من تفهم حقها في الوجود مهما كان الاختلاف معه. نقصد بالحضارة مجموعة الاعتقادات والأفكار والسلوك التي تشكل قناعة وتصرف العموم، وليس قناعة الأفراد أو قناعة المجموعات الخاصة. ومن ذلك المستجدات الفكرية والسلوكية التي يحصل النزاع حولها حتى في الحضارة الواحدة نفسها. وما لم يكن ذلك التفهم فإننا سندعو الجميع إلى الأخذ بنظرية حتمية الصدام والصراع الحضاري، ومن ثم سيكون التعايش بين تنوعنا الإنساني سيكون مطلبا مستحيلا، بل سندعو إلى استدعاء حلقات مظلمة ومؤلمة من تاريخنا البشري. وهنا active cooperation in confronting the instigators and those who benefit from the escalation of pessimistic ideas of the theory of class civilization, as well as in confronting the spread of stereotypical judgments on others because of individual mistakes or some other mistakes of extremist groups. We also call upon the member states to promote the values of peace and harmony between nations and peoples in educational textbooks and curricula, which is very important. I would not like to prolong my speech any further. I would like to thank you for being with us and giving me the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you. I'd like to thank the Secretary General of the Muslim World League, His Excellency Mohammad Al-Issa, for his statement. Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the President of the United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Csaba.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary General, Madam Deputy Secretary General, Mr. High Representative, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, أود أن أتقدم بخالص الشكر والتقدير لرابطة العالم.
I'd like to thank the League of Muslim Nations and the Alliance of Civilizations which gathers us here today. And please allow me to start my speech by commending the Muslim League for the valuable work they have been doing in the field of humanitarian work, helping, providing aid for individuals who suffered from natural catastrophes.
It's launched the Faith of Our Planet Coalition, uniting grassroots religious communities to fight climate change. In the time of protracted conflicts and interlocking crises, faith-based organizations play a critical role in shepherding their fellows. They have an enormous potential and equally huge responsibilities. Faith brings us together within our own communities and across them. However, teachings merged with impatience and inclusivity can also lead many people astray, turning them to intolerance and extremism. At any rate, religious organizations have a major capacity to affect human behavior. At a time when the patterns of our social interaction, consumption and pollution need to fundamentally change. Over 2 billion people live in conflict zones, 1/4 of humanity. With lives disrupted, jobs unavailable, and schools not functioning, anger is boiling up. which can easily be turned against people who are not and should not be the enemy. On the other hand, we witness increasing tendencies across the world to move hateful discussions online. This is particularly prevalent on social media platforms, and this extremism can lead to deadly real-life consequences. Unfortunately, women and girls are often especially targeted in the online space. So what can we as international community do to address the root causes of intolerance? What can we do to prevent actions that dehumanize the other, somebody who follows a different faith or no faith? How can we better empower young people to speak up and stand firm against hatred and bigotry? Let me share with you some of the related actions taken by the General Assembly. The Member States are currently discussing the establishment of a global digital compact, which will offer an opportunity to curb online hate. In recent months, the Assembly has come together on numerous occasions to reaffirm its commitments to tolerance. Member States debated how to eliminate racial discrimination and Islamophobia. We commemorated the 30th anniversary of the Declaration of the Rights of Minorities to encourage governments to better protect these communities. And the General Assembly discussed the linkages between hate speech and genocide. There is a clear convergence among member states that intolerance can lead to violence and extremism, and that we need to do more to promote intercultural and interreligious dialogue. Let's be bold and ambitious in our visions of a more peaceful future to share. Let's hope that pursuing interests will increasingly involve adherence to moral norm as well, something that not always accompanies diplomatic actions. And let's never forget the words of the American theologian Rob Stockman. The best and the test of courage comes when we are in minority. The test of tolerance comes when we are in majority. Thank you.
Thanks to the President of the United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Csaba Kőrösi, for his statement. I now give the floor to the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Her Excellency, Ms. Amina J. Mohammed.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellency, Sheikh Dr. Mohammad Al-Issa, Secretary General of the Muslim World League, Your Excellency Mr. Csaba Kőrösi, the President of our General Assembly, and Your Excellency, my friend and my colleague, the Under Secretary General Miguel, Moratinos, our High Representative for the UN Alliance of Civilizations. Excellencies, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the Secretary General, let me start by thanking the Secretary General of the Muslim World League, His Excellency Sheikh Al-Issa, for organizing this meeting, but also for your leadership and the work that you do for humanity. Intercultural and interreligious dialogue can play a key role in building bridges between East and West, as we have heard from the two first speakers. In my view, intercultural and interreligious dialogue forms the very foundation of such bridges. When dialogue is conducted in a genuine, open-hearted manner, grounded in mutual respect, we build strong foundations, the type of foundations that can withstand the storms of our time. When we do not have such dialogue, our bridges are weak, if they are there at all. I'm therefore pleased that the Under-Secretary General, Miguel Moratinos, will be addressing this forum on this topic as well. Excellencies, brothers and sisters, as we meet today for this important discussion, our world is facing a number of interlocking crises, from conflicts to climate chaos, to crises in food, energy and finance, to a rising tide of inequalities in finance, trade and technology that threaten to shred the social contract. From underwhelming progress on the SDGs to rising mistrust and intolerance. These crises are providing fertile ground for an alarming rise in hate speech and xenophobia, in discrimination against individuals and communities based on their religion, their beliefs, race, ethnicity, language or gender, and in concomitant acts of violence, intimidation and coercion. These heinous acts gained speed during the pandemic, fueled by grievance, by fear, by frustration and mistrust. Prolific digital platforms amplified voices and extended the global reach of hate mongers and their toxic ideologies. These vile acts are violations of human rights and affront to the values we hold dear at the United Nations. If not adequately addressed, they can lead to social fragmentation, violence and perhaps even conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, amid this gloomy picture of the world, it is dialogue that stands out as a beacon of hope. It is dialogue that offers a way forward. Dialogue based on diversity, inclusivity, listening to others and respecting our differences. A dialogue where everyone is welcome and empowered to contribute, including women and girls. Such dialogue that requires a transformed approach to education, one that nurtures a culture of peace and empowers students to thrive in our modern and demanding world. A dialogue that is grounded in the universal values of empathy, compassion, and humanity. A dialogue, a way of life, that is not threatened by diversity, but embraces it. Excellencies, this transformative dialogue that is so desperately needed is not possible without you. It requires a whole-of-society approach that brings everyone to the table and are welcomed in a safe manner. It requires, in other words, what we see here today in this room. Today I see a room that is filled with religious leaders and faith actors, all dedicated to dialogue and building tolerance and understanding among the peoples of the world. Our major religions espouse tolerance and peaceful coexistence in the spirit of a shared humanity. And so, it is our shared responsibility to resist and to reject those who falsely and maliciously invoke religion to build misconceptions, fuel division, and spread fear and hatred. Your moral voices are needed to mobilize your communities and steer them towards mutual respect and compassion. I, as a proud Muslim woman, know that the Almighty is the judge and not us, mere mortals. This agenda, this work, this ethos has never been more important. And your example of inclusive, intercultural and interreligious dialogue that leaves no one behind has never been more vital to our shared future. The United Nations is proud to work this path of tolerance and respect with you, and we look forward to building on our important work together. I wish you all the very best for a highly successful forum today. Thank you.
Again, our thanks to the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Your Excellency Ms. Amina, Sheikh, Mohammed. I now give the floor to the High Representative for the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, His Excellency Mr. Miguel, Ángel, Moratinos.
Your Excellency, Mr. Csaba, President of the General Assembly, Your Excellency, Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General, Your Excellency, Sheikh Dr. Mohammad Al-Issa, Secretary General of the Muslim World League, eminent religious leaders, eminent personalities, Excellencies, my dear friends. I wish to start by welcoming my dear friend, Dr. Al-Issa, to the UN headquarters in New York. I'm extremely pleased that we are supporting this event dedicated to interreligious and intercultural dialogue as a tool to build bridges between East and West. Building bridges of understanding between diverse cultures, religions, and civilizations is the raison d'etre of the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. It is truly heartwarming to see that after 18 years of the birth of the United Nations Alliance of Civilization, viable tool for creating a cohesive, homogeneous, peaceful, and inclusive society. Yes, a society that is rich in diversity. A society that is strong in its inclusivity and respect for each and every individual regardless of their religion, faith, color, ethnicity, or gender. A society that is just in protection of all its citizens, right equally and without discrimination. These are the basis of building peaceful society. This society will rightly be characterized as an ideal society. Sadly, my dear friend, this is not the real world. Around the world, the surge of hate speech, as you have mentioned, all of you, xenophobia, and religious intolerance have created mistrust between people and alienated entire communities. Bigotry, racism, stigmatization based on religion, belief, ethnicity, race, or gender thrive in chaotic societies. Where toxic hate crowds, radical groups, and terrorists find a fertile ground to divide people and recruit the vulnerable and marginalized. During the pandemic and today, there has been an unprecedented increase in online activity and proliferation of digital platforms, which was a multiplier factor, enabled hate mongers and broadening their outreach and their influence across the digital platform. Neo-Nazi and white supremacist movements are gaining both strength and traction. They have become the fastest growing security threat in many countries. We have seen how these far-right groups have evolved in most since Christchurch, New Zealand in 2019. The target were children in school, worshippers in places of worship and shopping grocery stores. The perpetrators of harboring extremist ideology were exalted for their killing on digital platforms. These dramatic events in Christchurch convinced Secretary General to launch the UN Global Plan to safeguard religious sites that my entity was tasked to draft. This plan contemplates the proposal to call for an international conference to protect religious places. And my dear friend, I'm pleased to announce today that we are going to organize this conference in February 2024 with the support of the sponsor countries Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Morocco, and with the assistance of the Peter of Thompson Foundation. I take this opportunity to salute my dear friend Rabbi Arthur Schneider, who is with us today in this meeting. Excellencies, distinguished guests, as Deputy Secretary General rightly mentioned in his remarks, the dialogue we now is for need all around the world. The current geopolitical scene makes this dialogue imperative. There is a great deal of mistrust and fear among people and between nations. It is where dialogue builds trust. That's why the United Nations General Assembly in several resolutions have recognized intercultural and interreligious dialogue as an important tool for promoting mutual respect, understanding, and compassion. Distinguished guests, 30 years ago, in 1992, Samuel Huntington issued his theory of the class of civilization. The American scientists prophesied that the great divide between humanity and the predominant source of conflict would be cultural or religious. He wrongly identified Islamic civilization as the main political and cultural adversary of the West. 9 years later, his thesis formed the source of the 9/11 terrorist attack. The scene of the total collapse of the Twin Towers here in New York changed the perception of the Huntingtonian prophecy, which was reevaluated by the West, believing that they had found the new enemy, Islam. The Alliance of Civilization was created in a way to refute this theory, because we are convinced that religion, culture, civilization are not the only root causes of conflict. It must be said bluntly. There is no class of civilization. There is a class of ignorance. There is a class of interest, but there is no class of civilization. Quite often, identities were abused and misused. Identity, in fact, to be forces for public good. Violent extremism and terrorism should not be associated with any religious faith. Religion is, was, and continues to be a major positive force in our lives. Religious leaders have an important role to play in changing the religious discourse, in mobilizing the community toward mutual respect and compassion. To defeat the class of ignorance, we need to invest more in dialogue, to listen to each other, including those who differ with us. Distinguished guests, let's continue to provide a safe space for a meaningful dialogue and to build bridges of understanding instead of war of division. One of the most important Italian writers, Henry De Luca, in one of his latest books dedicated to youth, says, and I quote, there are two possibilities for the future generation. Either to be the generation of bridge, that means to build, to unite, to put together society, or the generation of dam, where we isolate ourselves, or we protect, but then the forces of evil inundate everything when they are breaking. Here today we call for societies of bridges to create spaces for respect and fraternity. Let us work together to make the voice of reason louder. Let us make a lance of peace, not any kind of sound of guns. Let us work together. Let us respect each other. Thank you very much.
Our thanks to the High Representative for the United Nations. Let's move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this event is an opportunity. We can further the efforts of peace together. Right here within the walls of the United Nations is a famous mural commonly known as Rockwell's The Golden Rule. It simply says, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Rockwell's theory was that all major religions have aspects of the Golden Rule within them. For example, the sayings of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, says, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And also, blessed be the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. The Quran calls itself the way, the ways of peace. In the sayings of Buddha, it's recorded, hurt not others with what pains yourself. In Judaism, it is a custom to greet someone with the word shalom, which means peace be unto you. The Talmud explains the entire Torah is for the sake of the ways of shalom, peace. It appears that as religious leaders, we are all called in our core values to strive for the cause of peace. History has proven that the efforts of peace can be dysfunctional when used with evil intentions to manipulate and to dictate. Historically, atrocities have been committed in the name of peace, but the golden rule goes deeper than words. It challenges us to action. The golden rule asks us to treat our fellow man like we would like to be treated. This added principle assures that the motive of peace is noble. Religious leaders, we are aware that we have differences in this Roman assembly. But we must confess that even within our own religious affiliations, there are differences. This event has given us an opportunity to lay aside our differences and to focus on the critical issues that we all must agree we have in common. Discrimination, intolerance, and violence. These are critical issues that we all agree must change. As the United Nations Multicultural Study of Faiths Special Advisor, also known, I'm going to say from now on, UNAOC, my career has been dedicated to study, education, and the understanding of the many challenges and possibilities of all faiths.
In my early years working as a youth specialist in the criminal justice field, we discovered our rehabilitation efforts consistently resulted in a very low success rate. However, my theory was that the values required to successfully transfer and transform one's dysfunction required components of faith. So I created an international entity that incorporated faith in its structure. And by simply adding the values of faith, it resulted in a major increase in the program's success. You see, faith does not just reach the mind. Faith also reaches the heart. Faith leaders, religious leaders, we can help increase positive change in this world. Your Excellency, my challenge to this great body is to call upon the member states of the United Nations to promote the values of peace between the East and the West. I move that we add 3 efforts to our agenda. Number 1, to internationally incorporate various educational and training formats. We must go from talking to action. Number 2, to create a dialogue between the nations and peoples of the East and the West to build community through designated joint events and initiatives aimed at combating discrimination, peer pressure, and violence. And 3, to design curriculum that can be available in the educational systems and even in the home that can be imparted to the next generation because they are the leaders of tomorrow. The goal of UNMSF is to lead in this critical hour. Peace must have action. Peace must be intentional. And peace must be fostered by noble motives. What a great opportunity for religious leaders to join in this effort. Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammad Al-Issa, thank you, sir. This initiative is a great opportunity to truly build bridges between the East and the West. I believe this is possible, and I am looking forward to serving our generation. Thank you. And second, interreligious dialogue helps us to discover the value we have in common, making cooperation in support of the common good possible. Pope Francis identifies the positive relation between people of different religions in genuine dialogue anchored in the virtue of mercy as the paradigm of social friendship.
Point number 3. We need to strive for unity, not uniformity. Our ambition should be not to ensure that everybody looks the same, feels the same, says the same, but rather that with unity we respect other people to be themselves and we give them the space in which they can further their own aspirations, and together we strive to create a harmonious society. Point number 4. We should promote and be proud of our own particular identity as a means towards our universal aspirations. Ultimately, we should all be here for the sake of everyone on earth, and that is because Almighty God is the parent of all of humankind. Point number 5. We need to engage in constructive dialogue. Dialogue is not sufficient. It must be constructive. In our Jewish tradition, we have a concept of machloket l'shem shamayim, an argument for the sake of heaven. That is when we tackle the issue at hand, but don't demonize our opponent who holds a different view. We need to perfect the art of differing better. And also, in our communications, and in that which we convey publicly, we should not only point out the weaknesses of others within their fields and faiths, we need to be brave enough to recognize our own weaknesses. And if God does it within our own ranks, there are sources from which there can be a threat through extremism to peace on earth. We have a responsibility to call it out. That is true leadership.
In my birthplace, Vienna, 1938, I was demonized overnight by some of my friends. I used to play soccer with them, we used to play together, and what started as dehumanization continued with propaganda, continued with concentration camps, continued with the burning of synagogues, continued with millions of people in crematoria, including my family. And during World War II, how many, over 50 million people died. Why? Because of hatred. So one important lesson that I say to all of you. Each one of you follow the dictate of Abraham. Be a blessing. Be a blessing. And, quoting Proverbs, Mishlei, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. The tongue has no bones, but it can break hearts. So when we leave here today, I want each one of you to make a pledge. I will carefully analyze every word spoken from the pulpit, in writing, because hatred creates hatred. Love creates hate. And then again, I want to salute both my friend Dr. Al-Issa for undertaking this attempt to build bridges, as we have done also in the Alliance of Civilizations, to build bridges. And all I can say to you, united, we will prevail. Divided, we will fail. And finally, I want to say that a lot has been said here about intolerance. I'd like you to adopt a new word. There's no such thing as tolerance. I don't want to be tolerated. I don't want to be a second-class citizen. When you say we have to work to eliminate intolerance, don't use that. What we have to do is adopt a biblical statement, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. So please forget about tolerance. No more tolerance to be used. And just say, in all our meetings, in daily life, mutual acceptance. That's what we're talking about. We need desperately to make sure that children are taught in the educational system. Because, as I indicate from my own experience, children are taught how to hate. We are born how to love. So we have to love your neighbor as yourself, and God give us the strength and courage, as was said, to carry forward this wonderful sacred mission for the sake of the future generations, for the sake of preserving this world with the so precious gift of your life. God bless you all.